Top of the morning to you, everyone. It's me, DC, this guy and his camera. Look where we finally made it to. Standing here next to a big PBJ B-25 bomber here in Camarillo, California. Going to do a little interview with Mark Russell. He's actually been working on this plane for the last 21 years. In the process of this, we're going to do a little interview, have him tell us the story of how he's done this. Hello, Beverly. How's Beverly over there in Atlanta, Georgia this morning? Isn't this pretty cool? Hello, Tips. So letting a few people get into the room before we get going. Isn't this, hello, Kaboom, how the heck are you? Hi, hey, how are you, Kristen? Look at these. We've got this beautiful Hellcat sitting here that they're working on. There's only about 6 of these Hellcats flying. We're here at the CAF, which is the Commemorative Air Force here in Camarillo, California. Got an absolutely beautiful day. We're going to be sitting down for a few minutes with Mark Russell that has been working on the restoration of a B-25 bomber. All right, Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Welcome to the CAF Southern California wing.
Yep, we're going to sit down here. Mark is going to tell us all about the story behind this B-25 PBJ, like peanut butter and jelly. There is public access to this. This is the CAF in Camarillo, California. There's over 70 locations around the U.S. It's somewhere around 70 locations of the CAF, which is the Commemorative Air Force. They run entirely on your donations, and I invite you to check out. It's SoCal CAF, right? Yep, SoCalCAF.com. You like what you see, I highly encourage you to go to that website, donate $1. If we get a million people to give $1 to them, that would, just imagine the change that we can make and or the difference that we can make. These planes all fly thanks to the money donated, but we're here to tell the story. So here we go. Let me turn this camera around. If at any point this audio goes to pieces, but look at this view we have behind us. All right, this is Mr. Mark Russell. How many years have you been working on this beautiful aircraft?
I have been involved with this aircraft for 22 years, and it hasn't flown since it showed up here. That again, about 22 years ago, and we're looking forward to the first flight being first part of next month.
First month after 22 years. How does it feel to have worked on an aircraft this long and you're so close to completion?
Well, I'm very anxious to be done with the restoration and get into flying the aircraft. There's a lot of frustrations. Just got some more frustration. We're waiting for airspeed indicators for the aircraft that are in miles per hour, and just got word about 5 minutes ago that the ones that are on their way did not test out properly. So another delay.
I guess that'd be kind of normal, and because the specs and everything are so tight with the
everything in this airplane was done in miles per hour, which was typical for World War II. Although certain airplanes were in knots, this one was done in miles per hour. All of our books are in miles per hour, so we're trying to stay with that. But finding a 450 mile per hour airspeed indicator is a little bit difficult to do. Well, we found 2 of them. Again, they were going through overhaul, and when they were leak checked, they failed. So they're looking for the proper seals, and hopefully they'll get those proper seals, and we can put them into the airplane, hook up the pitot-static system, get that complete. I was hoping to do that tomorrow. That's now got to be pushed backwards. And then Monday we were going to weigh it, but that's going to be pushed backwards now because we can't do that until the pitot-static is complete. And then I go on a trip on Tuesday, and we'll be gone for 6 days. So again, it just throws things into disarray.
Shows the whole domino effect on a restoration project like this.
After another.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, this is something completely new for me, so I'm just going to hand you the mic, and if you'd like to go walk around the plane, I'll walk with you, and you can tell the story of the men that are behind this restoration or the story of, how do we say this?
Well, the people that were involved with the aircraft type during World War II, be more than happy to.
Sounds great. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
I'm going to hand this over to Mark now. I guess we have to stay close here.
Okay, as we've discussed, this is a PBJ. There's really no difference between a PBJ and a B-25J other than the fact that it has a bureau number. The bureau number means it was assigned to either the Navy or the Marines. And there were about 800 aircraft assigned Navy Marine B-25s. PBJ stands for Patrol Bomber, J for North American, who designed and built most of the aircraft. Of the over 800 that were assigned originally to the Navy and Marines, 8 were sold to civilian hands at the end of the war. Of those 8, we have the only remaining PBJ in existence. One of our members has done all the research, and all other PBJs have either been destroyed. I believe there's one in pieces. Those pieces are spread out to the point where parts of them are in one museum and other parts are in another museum, so it will never be put together as a flying aircraft. So we have the only flyable PBJ in the world.
Only one in the world.
Yes. And as you can see, we have MB-11 on the side. That is significant for VMB 611. VMB 611 was nicknamed Sarles Raiders for Commander Sarles. We learned a little bit about that by a local Camarillo member whose father was part of VMB 611. And to do a quick story here, they went out on a mission one day, and in the process, Commander Sarles was shot down. Deutfish, the father of our local member, went home, refueled, went out searching for his commanding officer, and was subsequently shot down, and the entire crew went MIA for 15 years. So we have dedicated this aircraft to VMB 611 for that purpose. Fortunately, a number of survivors from VMB 611 have been getting together for a number of years, and we have one that lives not too far from here, and his name is Vern Horton, and Vern has come out and visited a number of times. We put him in one of the passenger seats the other day to taxi him around in the airplane. He's 90 years young. He is very spry. He is a wonderful gentleman, and I can't wait to take him flying in this aircraft as soon as we do get it airborne. It's people like Vern that bring meaning to our work. When he first saw the airplane, we were in the process of painting it. And he put his hand up to the side of it and said, "You got it perfect." That is what meant so much to us. One other quick story, we had another gentleman, Norm Evers. His son sent us a picture of his dad with his head hanging out the window, arm out of the window on the ground. He flew as a captain on these back in World War II. And Norm was going to come out here for his 90th birthday. Unfortunately, Norm fell the night before his birthday and broke his hip. Well, a couple months later, he had healed enough to make the trip out here. His son brought him out, and he got out of the airplane with his walker, started moving over to the hangar. When he saw the airplane, he pushed his walker aside and asked if he could get in. Well, a couple of our crew members helped him into the airplane, and we took another picture in 2016 of him in the same pose with his head out the window and his arm hanging out also. So we have a picture from the 1940s, early 1940s, and 2016 of the same gentleman who crewed this aircraft. And again, that's our meaning. That's what's important to us. And without people like that, we really wouldn't have a purpose. So, but sure.
So I've got a couple people asking, where will the plane's going to reside here in Camarillo, California at the CAF, correct?
Yeah. It'll stay here. We do plan to take it on the road to some degree. How far we take it is going to be dependent on what we can afford to do, but we don't have any firm plans yet. I'd like to get it to Oshkosh one year.
So once it's flying, will people be able to fly in the aircraft with you? Will you take people for rides in the aircraft? Or?
Yeah, we already have this aircraft on the rides program, and as soon as we get some flying time on the airplane and get the bugs out of it, we are going to start offering rides. And we don't have a set price yet, but they will be available, and we'll be able to take about 7 passengers at a time.
Can you imagine that, being able to fly on this warbird? Holy cow! I want to be the first one. Well, excuse me, second. You got a pilot, right?
Well, we got a pilot. Yes. We're the other part of getting this all done is we have to get a test pilot out here to fly it, and then that test pilot will be training a number of us, getting us ready to do what we're going to be doing.
We got Kaboom here saying he wants to go, or she. Let's see here. All right, J Mate Flair, I got you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, unfortunately we got some extra noise going on here, but that's this part of the course. We got the air compressor going. We've got Kenny working on sheet metal here. They say the last 5% of a restoration takes about 50% of the work. And we're finding that out. We're trying to fit the cowlings, get them so they'll go on and off properly and easily. The airplane's 60 plus years old, and it's just one of those things where things have shifted over time, just like the rest of us.
How did you go about painting the aircraft? Was it in a paint booth or in the hangar here? Or?
We did a little bit by little bit in the hangar, and what we're allowed to do. And it took us quite a while. The guys that did the painting did a whole lot of research just to make sure that the colors matched exactly the way they were supposed to, the right colors. We look at the tail here, there's a little blip of white going up that's right by the end numbers. That is exactly what one of those things that our guys wanted to have just perfect.
Really?
Yeah. And the stars and bars on it just right. On the vertical tail there, we've got the number 2 up there, or the 11 actually is what it is. We had to have that the right size. The guys did an enormous amount of research to have it just right. So
tell us a little about, everybody wanted to hear about the tail gunner section here. Was that a dangerous place to be when you were flying?
Well, I'm a little young to know for sure, but I would imagine it was.
Of course, the stories. We're both young men here.
Well, I'm not as young as I'd like to be, but the tail gunner setup, of course, had the 2 machine guns back here. You can see the bird cage. It's a little dirty right now, but we're going to clean that up. In future, we're going to be able to take the tail cone off for those who want to photograph other aircraft from the tail. And we actually have a radio back here so that they can talk directly to the aircraft that they're filming. So if they want the guy to be a little higher, a little more left, a little more right, they can contact him directly instead of having to go through us up front to do it. So when we rebuilt this aircraft, it had been modified significantly over time.
Oh, really?
From the bomb bay back to the vertical stabilizer, both the belly and the roof have been completely redone, all new sheet metal. And from the waist gunner positions back to the same place, that's all been redone.
So how many gunners were on this? Like in a wartime, I see guns pretty much. You got what, 4 or 5 guns on the front? You have it on the sides and on the tail. How many? What was the crew? What was the total crew? I guess.
The crew varied by whether you were Air Force, Navy, Marines. I'm learning more and more about that. You would have one up in the nose to handle a couple guns there. The guns on the sides of the aircraft were operated by the pilots. And they're fixed guns. They just, wherever the pilot was aiming the airplane, that's where those guns would go. You had one in the top turret, you had one in the tail here, and you would have either 1 or 2 in the middle of the aircraft there to fire guns out of the blisters. Found out, I believe the Air Force used 2, the Marines used 1. And that gunner had to look out the window and see where the bad guys were and go from window to window and back and forth.
Holy cow.
That's what I just found that out a couple days ago.
Let's walk back up.
Sure.
Would it be possible? Oh, yeah, I forgot. I'm so used to having my lapel mic on. Let's see here. It's like live TV. Anything.
Yeah. Whatever you wish to look at. Just to let you know, we've done a lot of sheet metal work on the aircraft. The biggest problem this airplane had when we got it was typical of B-25 issues. The fuel tanks and oil tanks are rubber tanks. They were surrounded by a blanket of horsehair, and that horsehair would collect moisture. And if you flew the airplane regularly, the moisture would be dried out by the airflow. If you didn't fly it regularly, it would collect in that horsehair, and over time, it would create a whole lot of corrosion in that area. Inside the nacelle, where some of these tanks were located, again, there's a skin in there. You'd be able to put your finger through the skin when we got this airplane because of the corrosion being so badly. So we gutted from right about just outside of the engine, all the way to the fuselage. We gutted those areas completely and replaced just about every piece of metal inside there. And that's where all the fuel tanks and oil tanks are. There's 10 fuel tanks and 2 oil tanks for the entire airplane. It holds about just shy of 1,000 gallons of gas. And that's without any extra tanks on board. And I mean, this airplane's really versatile.
So what would be what's the range on the aircraft when it's fully fueled? You say 1,000 gallons?
Gallons, and when we're in cruise, econ cruise, we're probably burning between 100 and 120 gallons an hour for both engines. So we're looking at 8 hours maximum of flying, and that would probably be about 210 miles an hour, depending on each airplane. Each airplane's going to be a little bit different. So we can, we've looked at going to Oshkosh. That's going to be about 8 to 9 hours of flying time. We'll have to make one stop en route to get there.
Did this plane ever have a name painted on the side?
Yes.
Did this plane ever have a name painted on the side back before the restoration?
Yeah, the gentleman that donated it to the CAF had it known as Big Ol' Brew and Little Ol' U. And it was based for a long time up at Centennial, then Arapahoe Airport up in Denver, Colorado. And ironically, a buddy of mine in college, I went to college up in Denver, he used to fuel this airplane for the previous owner. He recognized the airplane when I showed him some pictures of it just after we got it. He said, "That's Big Ol' Brew." I said, "Yeah, it is." But we're going to call it Semper Fi from this point on, basically for the Marines.
I know there's a little story behind the Semper Fi, naming it Semper Fi. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the credo of the Marines is Semper Fidelis, and so short for Semper Fi, and always faithful. And she's going to be always faithful to us. We've done so much work on her. She is going to be maybe not the most original airplane in the world, but she is going to be a very reliable airplane. I've got all new avionics in her, which some people may complain about, but to me, it improves reliability. We've got every inch of wiring is brand new. We've gone through every cable. We've done everything we can to make her a reliable aircraft that we can take to air shows, give rides, have as few mechanical issues as possible.
I have a personal question for you involving this plane here. In 22 years of work, what is the thing that you remember the most? What is the one, whether it be an issue or excitement, or what's your number one memory of working on the plane, working on the aircraft?
I think the most exciting moment we had was when our wiring guy was finishing up the wiring, and we had to test out a few things. And we engaged the starters and spun the propellers. That is when I jumped. That was a wonderful day. The other day, I think, was when we put it up on jacks and we retracted the landing gear for the very first time. Those are major milestones. And we've just recently put power on to the avionics, and they're working great. We're going to have a great intercom system so people can talk amongst themselves when they go for a ride. Those milestones mean so much to us.
So it really is all state of the art in there as far as being able to communicate once you're up in the air. And I was here, when was it, Saturday, when you spun the right engine to build hydraulic pressure? Is that to, what exactly runs on hydraulics in the aircraft?
Yeah, we do have a very up-to-date avionics system. But yeah, we spun the right engine to get the hydraulic pump going. We had a little air cavitating in the hand pump. By spinning it, we weren't sure if it was going to work, but it did. It helped us get the hand pump working again, so we can hand pump the flaps or gear or whatever we need to do. You typically don't want to hand pump those things, but if you have to in an emergency, it's available to you. There's very little that works off hydraulics. The flaps are a part of it, cowl flaps, landing gear, and brakes. The nose wheel steering is all by braking. The wheel will turn, it's a castering nose wheel. We don't have any direct control over it. But so those are the only hydraulic components that we have on the airplane.
I've had several people ask me if they could see inside of it. I know it's probably cramped in there. Is that a possibility? Not for me, but if I handed you the phone, could you climb up there and show us what the cockpit looks like? And I don't mean to put you on the spot by any means. Please don't feel.
Right now it's a little crowded in there. Wait a second here. Let me ask. I hate to Hey, JC? Just one moment. Let me see. Can I get up there to take some pictures? Is anybody up there right now? Okay. Sure, I'll be happy to take the camera up there.
All right, for those of you who'd like to see inside the cockpit of this beautiful aircraft, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect everything, and hopefully we won't lose power. We are hooked up to the battery pack on this Note 4, so I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Mark here, let him climb up there, and yeah, check this out, okay? We'll, like I said, if anything happens technical and we lose signal, we will be back momentarily. So here we go. Here's your chance to see inside of one of these, inside of this one-of-a-kind B-25 or PBJ / B-25. 1 second. It has a, you'll be able to see all the comments here. And they can hear you talk.
Okay. Well, to start with, I'm going to take you into the bomb bay here. It's a little dark, but we've had some autographs from former members of PBJs. Here's a list of all the members of VMB 611. This was important to us. I told you about Norm Evers, who had the fall before he came out here, and also Vern Horton. And as time goes on, we're going to add more and more to the list. Going into the hatch, it is a bit of a tight fit. The B-25s weren't designed for comfort. And I know we got a little glare going on out there, but there is our cockpit. A little better there, than I got rid of the glare. The empty holes there are for our airspeed indicators. Got a Garmin 750, Navcom, GPS. We've got KX 155. You got engine instruments down at the bottom row and standard instruments, TAC, manifold pressure, and the whole 9 yards there. These wires that are hanging out are for the push-to-talk buttons on the yoke for us pilots. Got our circuit breaker panel here going together. Back on the back here we have our student seat. And then the tunnel that goes all the way back to the back. There's your turret operation. Crawl back out. And one of the seats for the passengers, which is going to be right next to the blister there. And again, I apologize for the darkness, but there's all the way back towards the tail gunner position. That completes the portion of the tour that I can give you here. I saw somebody put up there, wow, but that's about the only one I saw at the time. Folks, thank you for joining us today. If you're a local or you get to be local in one way or another, come on and visit us. Our maintenance days are Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, but we're open every day but Monday. We love to have visitors. This is a great area. We've got a great team, great group of people. I am so lucky to be associated with the people that I am here. I'm part of a team that is amazing. We've done so much, and I want to keep on doing it. We can't wait to get this airplane flying, but let people know who we are. It's hard to get the secret unsecreted. We want everybody to know about us. CAFSoCal.com is a web address.
Well, Mark, I want to thank you personally so much for doing this scope with me this morning. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out here in the hangar, and hope to do a lot more with you in the future. So I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and tell everybody bye here in just a second. But thank you very much.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it. And maybe we'll do another one down the road here.
Fantastic. Thank you again so much. Remember, this you're going to be able to, as of hopefully everything the date is right now, right around on or around May 1st, we're going to have this bird up in the air. You'll be able to fly on her. Of course, there's a little charge for it, but I invite you to come down here to or out to Camarillo, California, to the CAF here at the airport, and come and take a ride on this. They haven't come up with the prices as of yet, but I will be doing another scope here in just the next few minutes of a beautiful P-51. There's a P-51 Mustang right over there in that hangar off to my right. I can't wait to show you guys. They can get about 7 people at a time, give rides to about 7 or 8 people at a time on this beautiful B-25. They're going through all the preliminary, preliminary testing and everything right now, getting some airspeed indicators worked on, and yeah, it is Mike. So yeah, we're taking Periscope to the next level. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to go ahead and scope this one down. We'll be back shortly. I'm going to show you a P-51 Mustang and some other aircraft here at the CAF, all right? Thanks again. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.